What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Down to Earth with Kristian Harloff. Thanks for joining me here today. I appreciate you very much so for being here. We're getting very close to 25,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you enough. We are trying to cover this as much as we can because we think that more and more people need to be talking about it. And I think that there are a lot of great people out there who are doing it on the internets, and there's not enough people that are doing it on the mainstream media. So if we are one of the voices that you're getting your information from, then so be it. Um, Thanks for being part of it. Subscribe to the channel. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, and the Down to Earth channel. Tomorrow on the Down to Earth podcast feed, you'll get the full interview with Thomas Jane. If you want to see the video version of that, that's going to be on my channel. We talk about the UAP phenomenon for a full hour, and he's very educated on the subject matter. It's actually a really great interview, and I hope you check it out. So yeah, man, the Punisher, he knows about it very, very well. All right, so if you clicked on this story, then you saw right away that there's stuff going on. There's stuff going down. This last week, there was a lot of information that came out with both Lou Elizondo, Garry Nolan, stuff Danny Sheehan was talking about on Skyfire News. There's like a lot of it. So we're going to cover all that stuff. And the first thing that, well, we know that Lou Elizondo's book is coming out, and people have been looking forward to it. When I had Danny Sheehan on at the time, I asked, when is it coming out? There was kind of waiting. And it looks like we actually have a date as far as when it's coming out, or it looks like we have more information as far as it's coming soon. Um, but as we got, there were rumors and things of like people were trying to shut the book down. There were some people that were trying to. There were some people that were saying that they were just trying to shut it down completely. Um, and then there was like information that they just don't want to come out in. Apparently, that's what people are saying. Now, this came out from Lou Elizondo, and to which he says, to add insult to injury, I was notified yesterday that there may be a personal threat against myself and several other whistleblowers formerly associated with the UAP effort for the U.S. government. As such, I would like to make this perfectly clear to the American people. I'm not prone to accidents. I'm not suicidal. I'm not abusing drugs. I'm not engaging in any illicit activities. If something happens to me or my family members in the future, you will know what happened. It's a massive, massive thing to put out there. And it's like, red flags immediately when you're up to, whoa, like how serious in general by putting this out there. It's like, who's making threats, who's threatening Lou. Ross Coldheart started talking about it. There were many other people who were covering this and talking about how this is really heating up if they're making these personal threats to Lou. Like, what's the extent of the threat? What happened? How, like, what really is going down, and how realistic is it that something could actually happen to Lou and that they would act on these things? And is this something that could happen to other whistleblowers? And is this going to be the attempt of what they're going to do to try to silence these people? So then Danny Sheehan was on Skyfire News. They did an X Spaces, and they asked him about that. And this is a very long clip. It's about 8 minutes, but I think it's relevant to play to you guys so you can hear the full extent of what Danny Sheehan says here. Check this out.
Danny, I was wondering if you could elaborate, or if you have any more information about these that we're hearing about recently. I know we touched on it a little bit, but like, what's happened that triggered this tweet from Lou, or do you guys have any suspicion of like who's the group behind these alleged threats, more specifically than just like the gatekeepers kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't believe that the. Uh, I've got to be careful about this. You know that it's true that there are all kinds of people, saying bad things about Lou. And they say bad things about Chris Mellon, and they say bad things about other people who they view to be whistleblowers because they're hostile skeptics about the whole issue. But that doesn't really amount to significant threats. Uh, there are people who do other things. For example, there's some complete, you know, cloaca, who has filed a criminal charge against Lou with the SEC. It's a totally contrived bullshit charge of saying that this person apparently went out and bought a single share of stock in the book publishing company that's going to be publishing Lou's book. And then he's filed a criminal complaint with the SEC against Lou for alleging that he's engaging in fraud in defrauding the stockholders of the book publishing company. Is such a complete, bullshit uh, position. but it's irritating and it's aggravating, and it's a form of kind of harassment on the part of this kind of ardent skeptic. But that's not the kind of thing that we're talking about in the recent event. What's happened is that a person who is knowledgeable about the program, that is the crash retrieval program and the back engineering program, was found dead, and the police believed that it was a suicide. And but the some of the people said, well, look, you shouldn't be hasty in coming to your conclusion that it's a suicide, because he was in possession of important information that he may have been open to revealing publicly, and therefore that you should not precipitously close the investigation, just deeming it to be a suicide. You should have a homicide investigation preliminarily. And that all started to skyrocket from there. It's like that you've probably heard that the people that are pro-Trump people have, through the Freedom of Information Act, gotten a copy of the search warrant for Mar-a-Lago, and that they saw that there was a provision in there authorizing the use of deadly force if necessary, which is part of a boilerplate warrant form. That's a problem in and of itself. That's a provision that's in virtually every federal warrant. But what they did is they seized upon that, saying, "Oh, look, the warrant that was issued to search Mar-a-Lago is had an authorization to use lethal force if necessary. Oh, what would have happened if Trump himself were present when they executed the warrant, which he was not, and which the Justice Department had gone to great lengths to make sure that he wasn't there when they exercised the warrant. But say, well, what would have happened if he had been there and he'd resisted? Does that mean that they would have used lethal force against him? And then that ballooned into, oh, there was a plot to potentially kill uh, him, to kill Donald Trump, that was instigated by President Biden. And then it went on to that this was an assassination plan on the part of Biden again. And this happened. It just balloons and it snowballs into these kind of brain farts, that people engage in. And the point is that some people started doing that with regard to this thing, of this event that took place last week, that this person was found dead, and that there was a preliminary assumption that it was a suicide, an unfortunate and tragic event. But because there was a request to keep open the potential that it might have been a homicide, given the sophistication of some of the means that they have at their disposal to do that. And then that word leaked out, and somebody then assumed that there was a homicide that had been committed. And then it ballooned out into saying, oh, if homicides are being committed against people who have UAP information, this constitutes a horrendously dangerous situation. And then it was probably not a good idea to go forward and say, to announce that Lou had no intention of committing suicide, and he was not engaged in any kind of activities that constituted a threat of any kind of fatal injuries to him, etc. And that was probably a less than carefully thought through step to be taken, because it fostered and fed into the kind of maelstrom that began to develop around that. But that's not appropriate. There is not adequate evidence of any kind that there is that type of threat that is outstanding against the people at the present time. But if the testimony that David Grush has presented to the Congress is accurate, and certainly for the most part it is, that he has stated that he has been put into possession of information in his privileged position that he was in on the UAP task force, that has led him to believe that some people have been killed by the legacy group to keep secret the information about the program, the crash retrieval program and the back engineering program. And if you take that testimony and then you co-join it or erroneously conflate it with the information that arose around this particular tragic event that has occurred last week, unless it turns out to be more. But at this point, it has not developed any credible evidence that it was anything but a suicide, an unfortunate event. Those are getting conflated, and I think that we have to take extreme care inside the UFO community not to become hyperbolic, not to become paranoid and delusional, and not to become sensationalist about all of this stuff. We have to exercise sound, responsible judgment about these things, and not try to take untoward advantage of the susceptibility of the American public at the present time about you know people acting irrationally and violently. We need to be careful not to feed that cultural meme that's operative right now.
So I thought that was a really good way to explain all of this. It's like he seems to say in the nicest way possible that Lua might have jumped the gun at saying what he did, that there was no real kind of threat. It was more so of like, just wait to see what happens before let's not start putting things out there like that, because we don't necessarily know. It could have very well been valid. From what it looks like right now, it's valid what happened to the person with the information about the reverse engineering program, and it's tragic, but as of right now, there's no information to say otherwise. So we can't just, as he said, get paranoid, and because it'll one could validity plus drive you nuts and all those things. So it seems like he was kind of saying that was something Lou shouldn't have done. I mean, he pretty much does say that. Lou might have just gotten a little bit too nervous and started posting that stuff, because look, Jesse Michaels said it on some of his videos too. There's tons of people who will say these things to say, hey, I'm getting too close and people don't want me getting this close. And it is understandable where someone in Lou position would probably get more paranoid, especially with the book coming out and the amount of threats that he probably has gotten and will get. And then couple that up by the reason why you saw this in the first place. If you clicked on it, you saw Dr. Garry Nolan was just asked on that UFO podcast about the threat to Lou Elizondo, and then he said this.
And recently, another friend of yours, colleague Lou Elizondo, in a statement said he was aware of threats made against himself, his family, and other whistleblowers. I'd love your take on that and how you see that playing out. And do you think this could put a stop to other whistleblowers coming forward?
It certainly casts a pall. I mean, I know the specific incident that Lou is discussing, and it was real, and it's real, and it's ongoing. That information might go public. It's not my place to say it, but it's pretty serious. I mean, look, I got a phone call myself at one point, basically telling me to be careful how I was talking about things. And I won't go into the specifics of what was said and all the rest, but it shook me. It was a call from somebody in the government, or representing what was being said in certain circles. And it was a threat, and that was the first time I ever felt, okay, this is getting personal. It wasn't a threat by them. It was telling me that the way I was talking about things, I needed to be careful, because there are others who will.
So inside of that, he says that he had a threat, and it wasn't necessarily the threat by the person on the phone, but it was like, hey, you got to be careful with things that you're saying now, because people who are doing the things, they're paying attention there, and it might not be good for you. So, and inside of that threat, that doesn't necessarily seem like for this could be physical threat. It could be a professional threat. It could be all these other things. It could be tons of other things. But a threat's a threat. It's a threat. And the same way that Danny Sheehan also referenced the David Grush claims and the things that David Grush said is very much valid. That these things have happened, but you've got to be careful. In the same way that Gary Nolan said point blank, this was a threat. Not a threat from the person on the phone, but a threat that people are now paying attention and I wonder as they talk about this and the next 75, 80 years about the 75 or 80 years that have happened over the, since Roswell and all these things about the information that if you believe or not believe that has been hidden, that maybe there's been means and things that have been done in order to keep these things quiet. And now there are people who are making it louder and louder and maybe more difficult to continue to keep them quiet in the way that they were. And maybe, 20, 30, and I don't know, but maybe 20, 30 years ago when something like this was made a threat, and the person they made the threat to was they kept quiet, they didn't talk about it again, and that was it. Doesn't seem to be the case this time around. They're talking about it on podcasts, they're talking about it on Twitter, they're talking about it. Social media has changed things for sure. And it also shows that Gary Nolan actually says something afterwards on the same podcast about how important it was to be able to get information out for other people and like phone calls and things that he gets. And check this out. This is what he said.
Well, if it's really not just to have a place to sit around and have a coffee klatch and a discussion about it, it's really about, well, if it is the case, what are the manners by which we address studying it? What kind of funding might be appropriate? What might be the response profiles to, let's say, an announcement that something actually is happening? Or how do we deal with talking about what we see is going on in the government and how the Department of Defense, Arrow, or others are talking about it? It's not here to argue with debunkers. That argument is done and over. It's really about setting up what is the forward movement for this. And the Soul Foundation is funded by donations around this matter, and so it's a charitable foundation. And one of your questions just there was, well, what has happened in the last 6 months? An extraordinary outpouring of interest and offers of help. And we're still organizing what we can do with all of these offers. It was a flood. But I think more important for me are the number of academics who have reached out saying, hey, look, I want to help. What do I do? So thank you for providing cover for this. I get, for better or worse, I just literally got one from the UK an hour ago, people calling me on my home number and saying, I want to tell you about something that just happened to me. One man I got a phone call from, he was in his late 70s or so last week. And first he wanted to thank me, but then he wanted to tell me about something that happened to him when he was 8 years old and something he had seen. And he said, I have not told anybody except my brother this, but I want to thank you, and I feel that I can actually tell you this, and I just want someone to listen. And so I don't know, that's such a small thing in some ways, but it really feels big to me that you can help a person in some way rectify 80 years of guilt worrying about it, or 75 years of guilt worrying about it, and what it is that the world might think of him. So that feels good.
And I thought that was really interesting also, right? Because he talks about how people who had to have this type of information quiet and couldn't talk about it and now can, and have somebody like him to talk to, other people to talk about. He also talks about, I thought it was interesting, he's like, it's not about trying to battle with debunkers anymore. To me, that argument is over with. That's not the point. Is how to get this information out going forward. Like they're determined as far as what, and he talks a little bit more about what Soul Foundation is doing and all that. So there's a lot, man. There's a lot here, and I wonder how much, like these threats in general, how both Lou feels, the threat that Garry feels, the threat that other people when I asked Tim Gallaudet when he was on the show if he'd ever been threatened or anything, he said no. Now I wonder if that'll ever changed. I wonder if there's any phone calls that he's gotten since we spoke. I don't know. But as David Grush said in those hearings, that these threats have happened, and that there have been instances where people have been hurt, killed, and all those other things. And I wonder, but I do think what Danny Sheehan said is also very valid, that you can also get to this place, especially if you're at a place where um, Lou and Garry and Nolan and all these people are, that you probably are looking over your shoulders even more so now, and probably every little thing someone you see at the supermarket, you probably think is looking at you differently. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this in general? These things, is this paranoia? Is this something that is heating up because people are getting closer and that more phone calls are being had because of it? What do you think? I got to know your thoughts. Tell me everything you think. I got to know. So make sure you comment, click the like button. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to this channel. We're getting very close to 25,000. We've been running this show since March, and I'm glad that you've been with us. We're going to be doing more and more coverage on it. I'm thinking about 2 videos a day. I don't know yet. I'm trying to think about it. Maybe 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. You tell me what you think. There's just so much to cover. I feel sometimes that I miss things, and I'm always choosing. Should I cover this? Should I cover that? I'm not sure. And there's enough stuff that I could cover in the morning and cover in the afternoon. But I ask you guys, as people who are watching this channel, is that something you'd want to see, or is one story a day enough? Let me know that in the comments for sure. And as I said, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, a Down to Earth podcast. I'm going to have Thomas Jane on tomorrow, so make sure you listen to that. It's a really good one. If you want to watch the video, subscribe to my other channel, which is just my name, Kristian Harloff. And that's it. And I saw a lot of people last week, and I thank you for that, where I told you that we don't have a Patreon. And people ask how to support this channel, and they're happy with the things that we've been doing on this channel, and they say, keep it up, do that. How do I support you? How do I help you? I have 2 sponsors I'm going to tell you about, and get yourself something. That helps. They come back. They continue to come back. We keep having sponsors on this show. We can keep doing it. So let me tell you about both of our sponsors right now. Get yourself something. Links in the description. And I always pin it as a top comment. So thanks for joining us here today. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for watching the video. I'm excited. I know summer's right around the corner. I'm wearing hoodies right now, and I won't be, because it's starting to get hot. And I am excited because I just learned about Chubbies. Chubbies is a lifestyle apparel brand that makes every moment feel like a vacation. So they say that fashion is an expression of one's character, so why not let the world know that you're down for a good time? I need swim trunks. That's what I need. I need swim trunks. I need comfortable shorts, and that's what Chubbies has. They have all of it. And I got big thighs, guys. I got big thighs. So I needed shorts that I'm like, okay, you know what? I want to look good in these. I want to walk into my house, I want to put them on, and I did this, and I said, it's all about what my wife thinks. And my wife went, whoa, new shorts, nice. And I was like, I'm in. And I like the old kind of Mike Tyson shorts, for me. And that's what I had. They had them. They had those kind of like black shorts. I liked it. I liked the black colors. I liked blue colors. They have every type of color, and that's what I like about Chubbies. They got a different variety of high-quality men's apparel, so it's great. The stretchy shorts, all of it. Comfortable shorts, the best. So for a limited time, Chubbies is going to give our listeners 20% off your order with our exclusive code. Use that code DTE at chubbyshorts.com. Again, that's DTE at chubbyshorts.com. You will enjoy these. You really will. And I think that it's high quality, and it's summer. It's right around the corner. I know everybody's looking for shorts, bathing suits, all that. This is where you go. All right. Thanks for watching. Go get some shorts. The other day, my wife walked in. She said, whoa, where do those jeans come from? Those are amazing. Those are nice. I said, that's right. It's the perfect jean, baby. Love the perfect jean. Perfect jean makes great looking, perfect fitting jeans, and they're stretchy, and they're nice, and they hug your assets in the perfect place. They really do. It's got special denim fabric. It's very soft. It's really great. I've been wearing these, and it's super comfortable, and they look good. And that's what I needed, and I got it. Trust us when we say these really are the perfect jeans, because once you try them, you're never going to go back. For a limited time only, my listeners are going to get 15% off their first order plus free shipping. But you got to go to theperfectjean.nyc or Google The Perfect Jean and use the code DTE for 15% off. I love it. I put them on, and I was curious at first because they were like, stretchy jeans, do those work? And they do. They feel super comfortable. They look good, and I like wearing them. Super stretchy and great. I felt good, man. Felt good wearing them, and I can move around in them, and I like that. And they fit great. Make sure you go to theperfectjean.nyc and use that code DTE. 15% off. Get it.